What's up, everyone? Welcome to a Moocher's Monday live. I haven't done one of these in a while, and usually I just do a recording, but this time I decided to do it live. I brought Scott Solo here with me. I drug him over from the Starlight Digest. Oh, good evening, Scott.
What's up, nerd? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. So what the Moocher's Monday is we take a little step back from the movies. And we talk about life and how we live Star Wars outside of the ongoing series and the canon and the lore and stuff.
Your volume is dead.
Is it dead?
No, you're back.
Oh,
that was weird. You cut out.
Okay, weird. I'm not gonna tell. I hope it's stable the rest of the night there. So sorry about that, guys. Yeah. But anyway, Moocher's Mondays is usually when we take a step back from the movies and whatnot and discussing from our live shows on Wednesday. And we discuss Star Wars and how we live it and how it's life. If it's fan meetups, if it's cosplay, and if it's like today, toys, And I've done an episode on the collecting world before, but I kind of was thinking about the Haslab. And Mattel's, or I'm sorry, Hasbro's Haslabs and the future of it, and how successful, non-successful it has been, and is it detrimental to continue? Is it hurting other lines? So I kind of want to explore that a little bit, and that's why I brought Scott on here, because I know he, out of all of us, we both collectively
you've
more
cut
Haslab.
out again.
Jeez, I don't know what's going on.
I heard like your phone or something go off, or you got some kind of notification, then you cut off. Anybody in the chat? Darth Josepher's in there, and we got Mando Mike in there. Do you hear him cutting out, or is it just me?
Yeah, am I cutting out, guys? This is live, so anything can happen. Which usually does happen.
Darth Josepher says he hears you, so maybe it's just me. So yeah.
Okay. Well, in the chat, guys, let me know if it does continue and it does affect it. But yeah, Darth Josepher, cool. Mando Mike is in there. There's a couple more people in there. Hopefully this will be a kind of a cool thing. Again, collectively, Scott and I have backed more Haslab projects as in our group. You just completed the Ghost, right?
I backed the Katana, the barge. I backed that day one whenever it was announced. I backed the Razor Crest the day it was announced. The Ghost, I was backer number like 68 of the Ghost, so I was all in.
Nice.
The Sky Striker, the Hiss Tank. Yeah, I've backed a bunch of them so far.
Nice. Mike Johnson checking in. Hey, Scott and Moocher, what's up, Mike? Thanks for joining us.
What's up, Mike?
Sasquatch is in there too. So I didn't back the Ghost this time around, and it's not because I didn't want. I was like arms folded, not one of those people at all. It's just that taking a little step back from the collecting and just kind of like viewing my collection, just saying, you know what, I did the Razor Crest. I don't really do 3 3/4. The Razor Crest is cool, but I just don't have any place for another big ship like the Ghost. It just didn't fit my theme. You know what I mean? I'm more in Black Series and 6-inch and. Yeah, so
you do Black Series and you do the little ships. The
Micro Squadron.
The Micro Squadron.
Yeah. I love the Micro Squadron, and I figured this is going to be good enough, because I do have a habit of like, if I'm going to go all in, I'm going all in, and there it goes, man. Now I'm chasing literal ghosts. I'm going back to 1995 and going back to every ship. So I can't do that. So Matt Logic checking in also. Here, let's see. Darth Josepher just got off work. There's really a cute girl who has the whole Star Wars Rebels sleeve. Whoa, we've been talking for the past week and a half. You know what? That's going to be another Moocher's Monday one day. The Star Wars tattoo world. Absolutely. I love to explore that. That'd be cool. That would. Yeah. So Haslab's been in kicking in kind of like a high gear. One after another. They did make some promises about the way how different they're going to do things. When they announce a project, they're going to say, here's all the tiers, here's all the number, here's everything. You're no guessing, no nothing. And I think that's better. I think that's a positive move.
It's more like Kickstarter. Whenever you go to back a Kickstarter, usually they present to you all the facts. Here you go. This is the Kickstarter. This is every tier. It's the smart way to go. And with the Hiss Tank and with the Dragonfly and all that, they were playing cute. You know, they were being
Yeah.
coy about everything. It's like, oh, if you get another one, you might get a figure you want. It might not be one you actually want, but it might
At
be.
least you know going in, and then how many you can get and stuff, you know. And they also promise not to overlap. Okay. But they didn't say they're gonna butt ends to each one. You know what I mean? It's like goes boom, and then Giant Man was announced like what 2 days ago for Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, and Marvel's another one. Marvel Legends, they needed a win. Ghost Star Wars World, we needed a win because we had 2 back-to-back fails. Both one Black Series figures and one Black Series
role play.
The role play. So but 2 fails back to back, and then the Ghost Rider Marvel Legends it failed right after that. You know what I mean? And it was like too many, you know, it's just crazy, you know. And at first I thought like, okay, it's got to be a money thing. The Raiden Core was like $300, I believe it was, you know, for an awesome figure, but the perks killed it. Everybody just whatever. And I thought it was a little too much. And then I thought that the Ghost coming in at 500 was going to be too much, but I don't think it's a money thing. I 100% think it's first off timing. You know, they did it perfectly with the Ahsoka series and the perks. You know, I mean, I think I wasn't too impressed with the Ghost perks, but you know, at least it was upfront again, like they promised.
They were upfront about it. I honestly think that the Ghost perk, the crew. Here's the thing. Okay, you're getting a crew and you're getting them all carded, and I think that's really cool. I think you know, because I am an inbox action figure collector, but I usually collect 2 of everything. I can only get 1 Ghost though. So because at $500 a pop, that's a lot of freaking money if you're gonna you know. So I got 1. I'm probably gonna leave the figures on card. What they should do is the Ghost should come with like a final. There should have been a final tier added on, which is the entire crew loose. All those same, just not on card. You know, that way you get inbox collectors and you've got your loose collectors that want to build a set, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, everything's timing. So I'm assuming, you know, HasCon is coming in about two weeks from now. I'm assuming the Vintage Collection is going to announce the Ghost Crew, if it's retro or if it's Vintage Collection, as a whole for mainline. And the figures you're getting, because it's got the special card back, those are the ones you put on the wall, right? But there was no way they were going to announce it during the campaign, because it's like it could kill it somehow. You know what I mean? It'd be like, okay, we want you to buy this, we want you to buy into it. And then afterwards, like, yeah, we're going to release these on mainline, but without the special packaging and whatnot. I don't know.
And they did say that this was the only place, the Ghost was going to be the only place you could get them in their season 4 looks.
Right.
So, you know, you've got Kanan with the cut hair and he's blind and he's got the mask, and you've got all of them from season 4, but you have 3 other seasons where they all had different looks. So, you know, it doesn't mean they can't come back and say, here's the crew from season 1.
Right.
You know, why not?
No, I agree. Mando Mike saying $149 booster set of extra carded figures would have been a cool tier. Or, like I said, HasCon, they go, here's the, like, you know, if the Ghost came with the loose figures and here's like the special set, you know, whatever it is, that would be cool.
You know, they do those troop builder packs now.
Yeah.
You know, the like the Tusken Raider one, I still have to open and do a 1-minute review on. But if we had just that of, say, Kanan, Ezra, Hera, and Sabine, not Sabine and not Chopper, because Sabine and Chopper are going to be released individually, as part of just the regular main line. Yes. But you do Kanan, Hera, Ezra, and Zeb. You get those 4 in the troop builder pack. And you know, you just a cardboard box, you open it up, there's the figures. That could work. But
because who I mean, I have a hard time of like something that's going to come in $500 and you want to ripping those card backs open just to put in your playset. I was like, I open everything, but I would have a hard time. And it's a funny thing. It's because it's there. You'll never find them ever again. You know, and only like how many backed Ghosts were there? 26,000 was it?
There were, as far as the Ghosts, they needed 8,000 backers. They got 21,768.
So comfortably say 22,000 of those figures made. That's it, you know.
See, now
So,
I was trying to talk you into buying the damn thing, and I was going to buy your figures from you, and then
if
that
you
would
wanted
have
to buy
worked
them
out
for
perfectly.
$500, that's cool with me, but that wasn't going to happen.
I know.
You know what I mean? But yeah, and again, my decision, and I was rooting because I'm that type of person. Like, look, I'm not collecting it, but let's go get all of it, and I tried to, cheerlead to the end there, and it worked out.
That drove me crazy when the barge was announced, and I backed the barge immediately. I was actually we were recording an episode of Nerds with Attitude the day that was dropped, that was announced.
Yeah,
and I pounced on it, man. I pounced on it because it's the barge. It's so cool, first time ever.
Right.
And I remember bringing it to you guys, and Ernie's like, "That's stupid." And then the entire
he didn't
time
like
the
it.
thing was going, he was just so pissed that the barge was getting made, and not because the barge was getting made, but because he had decided to sell all of his figures.
Yeah.
So it no longer worked for his collection.
It was bad timing for him, man, And
don't put that juju on me. Don't put that juju on me.
And I kind of made this point with the Moocher's Monday with the collecting thing. It's like how we all are competitive in a fun way. Like we all want what we collect, of course, and a lot of times we have a hard time rooting for the collective in general. Like, let's get these things made for the Black Series and 3 3/4 and stuff, because you know what, it's just gonna help get more made from each line. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna bring up the Rancor here. I know the chat's been talking about the Rancor, about revisiting, and I'm gonna bring that up too, because I think that's something that Hasbro needs to do. But
huge part of the conversation.
Yeah, like I don't root against any of it. I don't even root against like Marvel Legends stuff, and because you know what, it's if they all fail, it goes away, and then you got nothing. It's and a lot of people in the collected world and the Star Wars world that's all they feed on. It's like, arms fold. I don't want to touch it, and haha, you're not getting it too.
Right.
And so like I said, I wasn't backing it, I was rooting for it like big time.
I think just if anybody is in the chat or watching right now is unfamiliar with the whole concept of Haslab, the idea of Haslab is it's a crowd-funded and crowd-sourced large-scale item that generally you wouldn't see at your brick and mortar store or on Amazon, because it's too large for them to put.
Too expensive too, like $500 a thing on the shelf is just like
It's one of those things that they could, if they wanted to produce these things, they could store it at the Haslab warehouses or Hasbro warehouses or whatever. But why do that if you can get some people to commit, pay for it in advance? They use that money that you pay, because at the end of the campaign, which is usually about 45 days, you are charged. That money is gone. And then they have that money for a year. They take it, they use that cash to produce the item and ship it out to you. So, and that's the idea behind the whole Haslab process.
And I think it's great. And it's about a 5-year-old, right? Haslab's about 4 or 5 years old.
Debuted in 2018 with the announcement of the barge. The barge was the very first Haslab.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea for collectors to get those big items that you'll never see in the stores, especially with Toys R Us going out and all those things. It's just not happening. So, but it gives everybody an opportunity to do it now. What I do want, so before we get into like the future of Haslab and all that stuff, because again, we've had a necessary campaign success, for Star Wars to kick off. I do want to talk about though how that impacts the Black Series. Now, the Black Series is a troubling line, and mainly because they overprice their figures. They say everything's a deluxe. They're pricing themselves right out of the market. They don't give you any extra accessories on blah, blah, blah. And that was, made aware when the Rancor was released, or when the Rancor Haslab. Everybody was excited with the Rancor Haslab. I mean, I think it was a very good figure, but not for $300, right? So everybody was like, okay, look, a Rancor, $300 Rancor, no, but let's see the perks. Let's see the tiers, and let's see how, because that, that will, incentivize a lot of things and make it like, okay, if we're going to get this awesome, scenery figures with it, $300, people can make that decision. And like I said, I don't think money is an issue at this point, because Ghost is $500 and it's superseded itself. G.I. Joe had 2 back-to-back, so there, there's not that issue. It's like, okay, look, it was just too expensive. It's just the value of it. And the Rancor came at a time when people were pissed off at Hasbro.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I do think money is I didn't back. Okay. I backed the His tank and I immediately regretted it. After I backed it, money's out, things coming. I don't want it. I don't really have room for it. I'm going to sell it because that's just the way it is. The Dragonfly came out and I'm like, God, I love the Dragonfly so much.
Sure.
But I knew they were going to make a Star Wars Vintage Collection announcement.
Right.
I was hoping it was going to be the Ghost. Yeah. So yeah, money is a factor. I wanted to make sure
when you're collecting multiple lines, I get it. But when I was talking like $500 for the if you just take Star Wars into consideration, $500 for the Ghost and then $300 for the Rancor. But the Rancor's tiers is what everybody was just, lost their shit over. I did too. I did not want a cardboard cutout for a tier system. Okay.
Terrible. It was terrible.
And it was just this is stupid.
Yeah, the cardboard cutout should have been the background in the window box whenever you open it already. It should have been shouldn't have been a tier. That was so stupid.
The tier should have been a plastic drop, an actual build out drop with the kit, something that you just you could be thin and built out, something as a display for it, I wouldn't mind for them, and it would be, I think it would be cool if they redid the Rancor. Like, I don't know the chances of this happening or anything like that, but we can always dream about it. Giant Man just was announced for Marvel Legends. Okay, it's a $200 24-inch figure. It is. I think it's equivalent to the Rancor as far as like the scope.
Plastic used.
Yeah, the scope of the Rancor had like a 30-some inch reach this way, and it had so many things. So you compare those two. Giant Man's coming in at $200. If they just do a Rancor $200 with Malakili and maybe some scatter terrain, the bones and stuff, the skulls. Because that's, again, I'm trying to compare it to the Giant Man stuff. It comes with 2 sculpted heads. That's their tiers. 2 sculpted heads, and the Giant Man. That's for $200.
Okay.
Relaunch the Rancor at $200 with, like I said, a Malakili, because they already did the rendering. I know they didn't produce it yet, but they did the rendering, and so they had that in mind anyway. And then the scatter terrain, little skulls, maybe a Gamorrean Gar skull, bones and stuff like that. I think that might be successful.
So wasn't a Gamorrean Guard one of the tiers?
It was, and then Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. It was a cardboard background.
Cardboard background. Luke Skywalker.
Luke. Malakili
and Malakili. I don't think the Gamorrean Guard.
I thought a Gamorrean Guard was one of them too.
I could be mistaken. Yeah. Oh, you know what? You might be right because think about that's 3 figures, scatter terrain, and cardboard cutout, and it still just lost backers like constantly, right? So
yeah.
Also Wookiee Sasquatch Center, they need to space these out better, coordinate with Marvel and the others even. I agree with you because that Giant Man just came out of left field on my end. I got Ghost just finished like a couple weeks ago, and then boom, you got this. And people who collect multiple lines, it's tough, And
and I see what he's saying about the he wishes they would coordinate with Mattel and all that. Even that would be great, but I mean it's all for the sake of the who sells the most wins, so they're gonna be competing with each other. The tiers were, other than the background, you had the Gamorrean Guard, Scatter Terrain, Salacious Crumb, Luke Skywalker, and I don't remember him. I don't remember Salacious Crumb, but he was tier 3 with 16,000 backers.
That's a weird one.
I'm actually on Pulse. I'm on Pulse right now looking at it. So it's looking at
that. I don't remember that. I remember Malakili as the last thing, and it got the Rancor up to 8,500, but then at that last moment, everybody's like, nope, and it just dwindled and fizzled out because they weren't even getting any of the tiers. It was like coming up to the base product. But
I think we're coming up to a big problem, which is probably something you were going to get to in a minute. So just shut up and let you talk. But
no, that's
scale. I think a lot of the problem with Star Wars, whenever you're getting into, and I've said it before, it's the world building and the,
Yes.
the scale of the series. It just makes it very difficult to, because you can get that. You can get the Rancor, but you're not going to get a Jabba's Palace 6-inch set. You know, it's
no 3D
you're
printers out there.
I know,
You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah. But again, scope and scale. You're 100% right. 6-inch line, no matter where it's at, even the GI Joe is going to have this problem too. You're going to get into that situation where people don't have, and not let alone a room to put the stuff in, a house to put the stuff in, because you talk about, like I said, with GI Joe's got, you know, just as many, if not more, vehicles and play sets that correlate to Star Wars, you know, and you start adding those in there, as cool as it is to have like a you know 1/12 was it 1/12 Wolverine or 1/12 you know Fang and all those other things. It's awesome, but it's like there's a time where you go, okay, I can't do it. Star Wars is no different. Now Ernie was talking about on a show, it's like, where's our 1/12 TIE fighter and X-Wing and stuff. I go, yeah, we got a First Order TIE fighter, and I regretted buying it because it's a waste. Say, it's just a waste of space. I can't do anything with it. You can't display with it. Yeah, I mean,
I turned it into a table and it was janky as hell. I eventually sold it, and I do have the Snowspeeder up there, but
see, Snowspeeder is just a small enough vehicle though, but it can work.
Yeah, but there's still no room for it.
Yeah, so Black Series. I think people have come to terms with it. Like I said, I'm a Black Series collector because it's the first time Star Wars was in 6-inch format, and I'm like, okay, if I'm doing this again, I'm going to go all in on this new line. It took me a while to get there, but I got there, and I kind of had to talk myself like, look, vehicles are probably a thing of the past, especially with the down slope of the Black Series. You know what I mean? Like, they have so many figures that they need to produce first, and get back, I guess, with get some trust back into the collectors, meaning like it's okay to do the archives, it's okay to play catch up for new collectors, but it's not okay to have two different packagings and call them the same figures, and it will screw the mitten box collectors. What they did, they screwed them over. They made a bad decision on the plastic free, and they're regretting it, and that really killed a lot of, and not just the Blacks, it killed a lot of lines, or dwindled down the collectors. They had to make that decision.
And like it or not, too, there's a lot of people out there that buy these things for resale value too. They do.
Sure. They
always have. It's like me, I buy two figures not for resale value, but because I like a carded. I'm a graphic designer. I love box art and package art, so I collect one pristine for my wall. I open one up and I put it, I put it on display. A lot of people buy these things for resale. They'll buy two, they'll buy one to open, they'll buy one to resell. The vintage collection, man, the prices go up and up and up and up and up. The Black Series, for some reason, I don't understand why. I don't know what the difference is in the market, but there is zero resale except for very few figures in the Black Series. And I don't get it, because I look up here and you see figures like Ezra and Chopper and all that, and some of them have gone up pretty high, but then you get you get a Grand Admiral Thrawn, and you can't sell a Grand Admiral Thrawn, even though he's one of the biggest characters out there.
I mean,
it's crazy.
On one hand, you can make the argument of the supply and demand with Black Series. Like I said, they just create everything as deluxe, but you're getting nothing's added to the value of what you're getting. So there is that aspect. I'm not going to take away from that, but I will say this, and somebody who got into the Black Series late, it was so easy to catch up. And I applaud Hasbro for making those catch-up mechanics easier with the archives, and because Thrawn was released like 3 times. So, 3 or 4, and I think they're going to release them again. So you can make the argument, it's like, you can't sell one because it's readily available. You know what I mean? You can just buy one you can find them in retail or the archives or whatever is coming out. You can find them easily. Okay. Yeah. Not all the figures are like that, but Hasbro does a good job with this, going back and fixing some resculpting problems, but they slap an archive sticker on it. Don't say it's mainline, and they put it out. Which, as collectors, again, like you said, it's hard to walk away from value, like a face value of a figure versus a collection. People that have a collection, they love the fact that these are valuable, or there's value to them, but at the same time, I'd rather have access to the figure than the value of the figure.
Yeah.
And with Black Series, they had that opportunity because they're not producing play sets and vehicles and stuff like that. They just throw all their resources into figures and resculpting them and improving on them. But there's got to be a breaking point where they say, look, a deluxe figure has to come with this, and let's flesh out some aliens and droids, which they are starting to. Like the ship is starting to write. It's not full. They are like a pendulum. Okay. Yeah. They will go all the way down to nothing, and then all the way to all you're going to get is aliens and droids, to the point where it's going to be, oh my God, can we get a Luke Skywalker?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Right. Part of the reason I brought this up, though, is because with the vintage collection and the Haslabs, the whole reason we're here is talking to Haslabs. People are buying multiples. I can't afford to, like Wookiee Sasquatch here. He puts in buy 2 Haslabs, sell the second one for double later to pay for yours. Sure. That's a great idea if you have that to begin with, right? Yeah. That's why I didn't buy 2 ghosts.
Right.
But what I'm getting at, though, is you can buy multiples, and there's a huge market for vintage collection vehicles. It's like the so the Razor Crest, they needed to make 5,000 in order to produce it. They ended up selling 8,810 units.
Yeah.
And then people start learning
the barge, right?
Oh, the barge. Yeah. So then people start learning, oh, wait, they made the barge. So it drove the secondary market up and up and up. And Absolutely. It has not, with the vintage collection, it has not faltered, because the vintage collection has a really, really good resale value. It's the whole point of me going off on buying 2 and resale values, right?
Sure.
Do you think that might be one of the reasons why the Black, other than shitty levels, tiers, do you think the lack of a resale market for Black Series might have helped kill the Rancor?
Well, I think yes and no. Again, I always have to look at the time the Rancor came out, and it was in a bad. Hasbro was in a bad situation. Everything they do was just not good. Like, it was just, at that time, the movies were getting. I mean, everything was being just shit on everywhere. Star Wars. Rancor came out, and again, that cardboard tier really killed it, and then that just put fuel on the fire. I'm not discounting what your point is. I think timing was very, very bad, just off, because Book of Boba Fett was just out and nobody was liking it. Okay. Or not nobody, but people were not as expecting it. People were saying if you put a saddle on that Rancor, you would have sold abundance of it. So I don't know if, like, what you're saying is 100%, because the sentiment around the campfire at the time, because we explored that a little bit, was like, this is cool, but what are we doing with this? It means it's doing nothing. We know a Rancor is coming to Book of Fett, and they just totally just missed the mark completely.
Well, I think the Haslab Rancor project ended a week or 2 before the Rancor made its appearance on the Book of Boba Fett.
That's true too. Yeah.
And I think timing has
Ghost, the same thing, but we knew the Ghost was coming. Yeah. So,
but the Ghost made its first appearance on Ahsoka that week.
Yeah.
So you had, well, I mean, it was in Rise of Skywalker, and Rogue One, but still, you saw it in action, and they should have timed that a little bit better. I know they wanted to do a, and Hasbro talks to Lucasfilm. They know when things are coming out, because they're producing these figures. They're sculpting these figures. They knew that the Ghost wasn't going to make an appearance in Ahsoka until later on in the season. We're going to see it again, I'm hoping, this upcoming week. They should have, and I know they wanted to do it for San Diego Comic-Con, they should have extended or made the campaign for the Ghost a week or 2 longer.
Yeah, like a 60-day campaign. Yeah,
exactly. And if you have a 60-day campaign, knowing that the last 2 weeks of that campaign, your toy is going to feature prominently in this huge show that is pretty much universally loved right now.
Yeah,
I think it could have only helped sales of the Ghost. We probably would have had more and more sales. So, but the timing of the Rancor was just awful.
Yeah,
with the tiers.
I think a lot of it had to do with that. And like I said, at that moment in Disney Plus and whatever, Star Wars couldn't do anything right. It just could not do anything right, and so that didn't help. But also with that point too, on a Haslab project, if you let it go, say for like a 60-day, 90-day, and you have a potential of almost doubling, like I said, if it's relevant, and they only had like 3-4 tiers, and they say they sold 40,000 units. Don't you think the pressure would be on to add more tiers, even though, but people would be like, look, this thing has gone so far, and it's probably why they make like a FOMO of it, a 45-day scarcity, boom, boom, boom. And that's why you see like a 10,000 unit jump in the last 24 hours. You know what I mean? Because it was only on tier 2 success and had 2 more tiers, and it jumped like, I mean, in a 24-hour period. I'm talking about the Ghost, just massive amount of people backing it. Same thing with the Dragonflies. That's happened too.
Same thing with the Razor Crest too. It's that end of campaign surge, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of there was evidence saying that the international backers hadn't been added in yet, and there was also evidence saying that they were there the whole time.
Right.
You're not going to know.
Conflicting. Yeah.
We're not going to know, and it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because all the tiers were unlocked. All the naysayers were wrong. All the tiers were unlocked. But I think had they made that campaign a little bit longer, and actually had the Ghost do more in Ahsoka, sure, I think it would have driven sales. Just like if they would have made the Rancor a 60-day campaign instead of a 45-day campaign, and you saw Boba on the back of the Rancor with the saddle, and
that last tier was a saddle. I mean, come on,
with Boba, if you want to, make Boba more flexible to where he could write with cloth goods, where he could write it. Yeah, there you go. But and I know it's not the same Rancor, but honestly, who gives a shit?
No,
it's a Rancor.
But that's the thing. Then and that's the thing. And this is why I wanted a relaunch of the Rancor, and you get to, okay. Comparing it to what they did with the His tank. When the His tank came out, they're like, look, here's the His tank. And it had that classified feel, a little bit more modern twist to it. But they're like, hey, but a tier is retrofying it a little bit. I mean, making it where these panels can, clip or take off, and you do these things to make it almost a retro looking His tank. Do the same thing with the Rancor. You pop off the shoulder or whatever the differences were, and you make it a Return of the Jedi Rancor, pop on whatever it is, and the saddle, and now you have a Book of Fett Rancor. You know what I mean? It's just bottom line is I don't think it can hurt them if they did a relaunch of but $200, here's 2 or 3 tiers, and it's Malakili, the scatter train, and the saddle, and make it 17 whatever, but a base thing of 10,000 backers. I think it'll do a lot better. I might be in the minority of it because I know a lot of people have given up on just collecting Black Series in general, or picking and choosing at this point. Well, a lot of people, I know that they've either just went straight to, like I said, vintage collection, or they're picking and choosing now, and they're Hasbro's forcing everybody's arm on it. I know that I wanted to. I mean, we kind of like a little bit of explored it too. Is like the success of the 3 campaigns that Star Wars has, and all been vintage collection successes, and it's like perfect for them. And I always say, like, hey, root for it because it's good for Star Wars in general. But could that sentiment be the opposite? Could that tell Hasbro, because these are business guys, right? These aren't necessarily Star Wars fans of the collecting world. These are guys that make these decisions, and I've heard that their marketing strategy, they're not even Star Wars fans, so how can they pick and choose different products?
Right.
And that's a true statement. I've heard that from people who worked in Hasbro in general, that their focus groups are not Star Wars fans, and they're the ones picking the next figure.
Unlike the G.I. Joe,
with their actual fans, yes,
they are fans. These are people who are wearing Star Wars or G.I. Joe, on their bodies with tattoos and stuff like that. These people love, eat, breathe, sleep G.I. Joe, and they're marketing this stuff. But yeah, Star Wars, no, it's not. I think part of the problem is,
later, Darth Joseph.
See you, Darth Joseph. See you Wednesday, man. With the vintage collection, you're dealing with a scale that has been a part of Star Wars since day one.
Sure.
And many people who are still fans of that scale are, they're sticking with that scale. You know,
Yeah,
it's the world building aspect of that scale. That's why I love it so much, is because I'm making my own play sets now, thanks in part because 3D printing, you know that.
Yeah.
So I can build out, and I've got enough room to build out a galaxy of figures in my little toy room, you know, whereas with Black Series and a giant ass Rancor, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't build an Emperor's throne room at a 6-inch scale, but a 3 3/4 scale.
Yes, you can.
News coming soon from Tashi Station.
You might not have a TV where that's supposed to go, but you can. And you're 100% right. I was looking at it at one point, being like, you know what, the 3 3/4 vehicles, I can collect those and just have a display of vehicles, because those are a separate collection whatsoever. Yeah. And versus to me personally, the Black Series figures are superior in quality and posability, and they just look better, they just feel better and everything like that. But again, that's if you're already in that world, you're in that world.
And they've made huge, vast improvements on the vintage collection too. It's
they have, but I've seen
Cad Bane and Darth Vader recently have just,
but they're never consistent on it. Like,
no,
in my opinion,
rubbery joints.
Yeah, it's like they have it, like they knock it out of the park, and then the next 5 figures are like subpar. They don't even look like, it's just like weird things. But
yeah,
anyway, that's in that. But that's the thing about vintage. There's so many figures, and they do everything. But I do want to get back to the chat just real fast, because Matt Logic had a question.
Okay,
he says here regarding the Ghost, do we want more produced with all of these tiers already unlocked? I heard some actually withdrawing because there were too many made. And look, that's a valid point. And it's a valid point, because there are, like what you said, there are people who collect for value. And I think I asked you at one point about the His Tank, right? It's like, you know, I might buy 2 and try to flip one. You're like, look, I think too many have been produced. I don't think you're going to be able to flip them, right? Yeah. And that could be, and the people do go into that Haslab project buying 5, buying the max to keep one flip 4 and make $2,000-$3,000 on it.
Yeah.
And the fear of like doing way too many produced, they back out on that. And again, that's one side of it. It could be very minor. Yeah.
And that's very true for like the Razor Crest, because I know a lot of people saw what happened with the barge.
Yeah.
You know, and the barge was going for $1,000 and up after that, right? So they were thinking whenever the Razor Crest hit, oh hell, this is payday right here. I'm gonna pay for a kid's tuition for a year with this Razor Crest. But they made 28,111 of those things. And the resale value is maintained a steady. What was it whenever it was sold? It was about 300, wasn't it?
It was 300 for the race, 330 out the door, right?
For the Razor. Yeah. Okay, 330 out the door. They're ranging somewhere between 500 and 600. Right. So they are almost doubling.
You can almost double your money, sure.
Almost. I saw, but it's
the minute after. Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say the minute after the Razor Crest, the minute. People are like, oh, I missed out. Does anybody have an extra one? The minute it ended.
The minute. So, same thing happened with the Ghost.
Those people. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the Ghost, so I mean, 21,000 of these things were produced. You know, a lot of people, and I belong to a group called like We Backed the Ghost or something like that.
Right.
And people were buying the max. They were buying 5 Ghosts at a time.
Sure.
So, you know, some people, who knows what it's going to do in the end. I don't think it's going to make barge money, but I think it's going to probably, if it continues being seen in the Ahsoka series and in the future, I think there's the potential of it actually making maybe better money or on par money with the Razor Crest. But still, you know, you're looking at a $500 investment.
Yeah. Do you think they'll ever do like a smaller version of it, like they've done with the Falcon? Let's say the Falcon was $200, right? That maxed one, the big one.
Yeah.
But there's like 3-4 versions of it. I mean, of the Falcon. Do you think they'll do a smaller version of the Ghost eventually?
I don't think so. I think this is probably our one and only chance of getting that. I think if we were to ever see the Ghost at retail, I think it would end up being something that's, you know what? I'm going to stick with my no. I don't think we'll ever see it at retail. I don't think we'll ever see it reproduced, because people were saying that was going to happen with the barge and the Razor Crest. And
the barge, I couldn't see that. In Razor Crest, I could, but not the barge. Yeah, too big.
It's too late now. So
Matt Logic is saying he saw the Razor Crest this weekend at Dallas Vintage Toys for $1,000. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but also you got to think Matt Logic, that's Dallas Vintage Toys. That they're kind of on
Those
the spendy
guys,
side. I've been there myself, and it's been whew,
oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah. You know, value is always again whoever's willing to pay for it. You know,
Yeah.
So let's see here, Ula, and going back to our Rancor talk, Ula is impressive to a success, imperative to a success. We've learned about the Rancor. Too many fans demanded it the first time around. Nailed it on the head. If they made an Ula figure with the Rancor, it would have been back easily. I don't know about all the tiers, but at least it would have been based back, you know. I agree. I mean, you're gonna have to look at customs for that unless Hasbro just goes, you know what? Let's just make Ula, and who cares about the backlash? Because the people who are gonna backlash us don't buy figures. How can it hurt us? Like, how can it hurt us?
We're going back to the whole Indiana Jones producing a Molarem action figure. You know, there's
right.
saying that's, you know, it's too offensive to do these days. You know, even though he's a villain, we're not looking at a race or we're looking at a villain.
They would have to cut off almost every movie ever made if they went that route, you know?
Exactly. So they need to stop, because the people that are going to be offended about an Indian man being a villain aren't the ones who are going to be buying that figure in the first place.
Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%. Well, I'm surprised Hasbro didn't wait till 2023 for the 40th anniversary Rancor with Malakili. Early bird backing bonus, Gamorrean Guard, tier 1 Luke with bones, tier 2 Ula, tier 3 Hut Slayer. Mando Mike has said this. We've said this. I know we said with the whole 40th anniversary thing would have been good. Timing wise, I think that's not producing Ula or Malakili right off the bat. And the timing of like Book of Fett being kind of like just, you know, divisive and stuff. It hurt.
Yeah.
I just implore Hasbro and the team to, okay, it didn't work the first time. Let's redo it again, instead of just like they're the ones with their arms folded.
Right. And that was Rhino Hobbies. Thanks, Rhino Hobbies, for popping in there.
Thank you so much. Captain Jack, also, they need to do a Max Rebo band Black Series. I'd buy that in an absolute heartbeat.
Even I would, and I don't collect Black Series like I used to. I get maybe one every 3 waves, and I would buy a Max Rebo band.
Yeah, even if it's $100 price tag, I'm getting it.
But only if it's the original Max Rebo band. I don't need
screw that, whatever.
I don't need Jawazo.
Not doing that. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's the same thing, Papa Smitty. I love Black Series. I stopped collecting them when they began pushing $30 with no accessories, though. That's the thing. And them calling deluxe figures deluxe for like zero reason, and you getting nothing. The value is not, you're not getting the bang for the buck with it. And they really do need to take a serious step back, you know? And that's what we're getting at. Like, vintage collection is becoming just as expensive as Black Series. I mean, they're pushing that a couple dollars cheaper,
$20.
Right?
Yeah, they're pushing a $20 price point for a figure, and that's not deluxe. You know, the deluxe ones are between 25 and 30 a figure, and it's getting to be ridiculous.
Yeah. But I am so I wanted to kind of like explore the and get like a talk going too, because the Haslab is very interesting to all of us. You know, a lot of us collectors want to see things being produced, and like I said, as a Black Series collector mainly, you know, I'm disappointed that the 2 Black Series things, one mainly, it failed, and it failed miserably, and it put a bad taste in people's mouth, and I don't like that, and I'm hoping that you know, I don't think for HasCon this year we're not gonna see anything, because they said they're not going to stack the Haslabs anymore. They're gonna have Giant Man run through, and then maybe they'll probably do, I don't know, another. What do you think, they'll produce another G.I. Joe first before they do a Star Wars? Like, what do you think they're gonna do first? And if it is Star Wars, would they revisit Black Series, or you think it's done?
No, for Black Series and Star Wars, I don't think that's really tough to say, because I mean, you really could easily be done with it, because it is such a huge scale. The price point is going to be astronomical, and let's be honest, the vehicles and large scale figures, you're looking at something as big as the smallest would be like a TIE fighter again, or a ATST walker, which is still going to be, you know, it's going to stand this tall,
3 feet
tall, you know.
Giant Man. I mean, it's like,
it's the scale plus, the like Giant Man. You said, how much is Giant Man? I'm looking at it right now.
199.
200. Okay, $200. He's, how tall is he? He's
24 inches, something like that, or
okay, so he's 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
So,
but they have Galactus, which was, I think, taller. I'm not sure, but
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But that's a narrow, like I said, ATST would be, because you can make room for that. Now you're talking, and you're 100% right with the scale on it. Now, what I think they should do is Black Series should be rebranded. Okay, I think they should rebrand it, not start over, just accept what they have, but they have to stop tottering around these, mitten box, or the box with the murals, and then no murals, and then this and that, and the flat this. They have to come up with a strategy of like, okay, we're gonna do like Cantina Alien waves, we're gonna do different waves, and then do a current level wave. What's out? Ahsoka. Okay, we're gonna do Ahsoka wave, and then an anniversary wave or whatever, then an archive. And they have to rebrand somehow, some way, and add, if they're not going to, it said vehicles, that's just, the bigger vehicles are just out of forget it. You're just go to the 3D printers for those guys. They got you. But speeders,
I think Captain Jack might have hit it right there, where he says an A-wing or something would probably be.
There's a scale that works for Black Series, and then there's the play sets and building out a cantina, building out a Jabba's palace, building out a Hoth Rebel base, building out, but it doesn't have to be this elaborate playset like we can get with Vintage. It's just something that's more of an accessories. I think if they rebranded the Black Series to accessories and fleshed out the figures in general, and then the third parties can get you with the bigger vehicles and whatnot, bigger play sets and whatnot. Or Haslab it, like I said, this.
Yeah. And I think I was about to say that you and I have talked in the past about Haslabbing Cantina Aliens.
Yeah.
Haslabbing the Max Rebo band, where you've got your 3 main characters as the base set. And then if you want a Joe Wazzo, or
the guy with the big Tiffany, not Tiffany, but if you want those as your tiers, that way it's like a bonus figure, that's no big deal. The dancers. I agree, man. And I'm curious to see what they say during HasCon. If they take that approach of like I said, remember I said that they're starting to right the ship by recognizing the collection and what we're missing, like young Anakin, Padme, we're getting a battle droid, or super battle droid, and we're getting a destroyer. We're starting to flesh out some of the episode 1 stuff, and maybe they're going to take each movie a closer look and go, okay, there's things we can do. And I think I'm happy with that. I'm cool with that. I'm patient. I like that. But at the same time, I like to see, like I said, an A-wing, a snow speeder, an X-wing Haslab would be. I think an X-wing Haslab would be amazing. And I know it'd be big, great. But you're talking about people will just like the GOAT. They'll make room for an X-wing. Original trilogy will do a lot better than an E-wing or a Jedi Starfighter or something like that.
U-wing or something.
Yeah. So we'll see. I hope. Like I said,
a Republic gunship. Even a Republic gunship,
man,
would be
people make
awesome.
Room. You'll make room.
I wouldn't buy it, but I think that would be awesome, man. I think that would be nice.
Rick Jones, Black Series has lasted longer than Unleashed or 12-inch figures. If it dies, I had a good run. Yes. I have every single Unleashed figure. I'll probably do a shoot on one time, but I have every single one. They were my favorite at that time because they were like little $14 statues. They were so awesome. I wish they continued.
The Boba Fett was great. Boba Fett were shooting down.
That's what sold me. Was awesome. That's what sold me on those. That was my first taste of a 7-inch or like 6-7-inch Star Wars figure at the time, but not necessarily a figure. But Black Series filled that void big time, and that's why I think, like I said, I do think the Black Series is superior in a lot of ways. You can pose these things, there's a lot of detail, you get a lot more out of the figure visually. It's just that they're not they're just giving the Mandalorian 15 times over, and it's just killing it. But
it is, and in their focus on clones too. I mean, I get it.
It's so easy for them. That's why. That's what scares me.
All you got to do is slap some different paint on it, and you've got to.
And that's what scares me, Scott. And it scares me because, like, the vintage collection so far has 3 unbelievable success. Well, Katana's successful, but let's say past that, because that was brand new, whatever. I think anything, not anything, but I think their strategy moving forward about like, here's this relevant ship, or even if it's a play, but it's relevant to what people are interested in now. And it comes with an amazing detail. Here's these tier systems. I think they're on the right path with that. My fear was, and one of the talking points I wanted to do with this Monday episode was that, is it going to just seal the fate of anything Black Series, moving forward? Now, they never say anything. They never confirm or deny anything. Hasbro, they just kind of like out of sight, out of mind, and ignore everybody's comments, and then they start banning people because of their comments. It's just ridiculous. So I do think that the team needs a revamp, a new attitude.
Yeah. And people's comments, you can't take that with a grain of salt, because people are idiots. I mean, honestly,
but last time
those Haslabs.
Yeah, last time they were banning people in chat and stuff, and it's like, just let them talk. So,
you ignore them all the other time. Why ban them now? Just keep ignoring them.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what HasCon has in store about any kind of mentioning of this kind of talk. Like, hey, Ghost was great, and we're going to continue. If they just give us those, like what the G.I. Joe team is doing. Yeah, everything's on the table. We got everything on the table, from every iteration to, sub teams, to basically almost every vehicle besides like the flag and whatnot. But I mean, like, they've got things that they said nothing's off the table, which is, I want to hear that from Star Wars. I want to hear like, yeah, dude, you know what? We have a new attitude with the Star Wars toys going forward, because we haven't lived in a world without Star Wars toys. I mean, it started with when we were born, but it can't go away. I mean, I am doing another Moocher's Monday about the Dark Times, which is Star Wars, where there was nothing in Star Wars for a while, and it didn't seem like there was going to be any. I don't want to go back to that, because I'm enjoying this run. This has been a long run from 95 to present, or 94 even. Let's say 94 to present. It's been a good run so far, and I don't want it to go away. You know what I mean? Because it's not fun.
Well, I mean, technically we are in a dark time for G.I. Joe, but yet G.I. Joe has come back stronger than ever.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
From the Real American Hero ran 82 to 94, and I have every single one of those figures and vehicles, and I love that series. But then after that 94, you had little piddly things like G.I. Joe Extreme or Valor versus Venom, which never really took off. But you had the 25th anniversary where things were picking up again. It was great. But then that died. And, there was nothing coming for so long. And then with the 6-inch, the revival with the 6-inch, without any relevant modern G.I. Joe content, because the comics are not relevant. Trust me. They
try to put it behind a video game, a failed video game that nobody paid attention to, didn't even know about the video game until the figures came out. And there's still comics, but nobody. They never really, people don't really read the comics anymore. I mean, the vintage comics, the old comics are fantastic. Yeah.
And I recommend everybody
nowadays, right? Like back in the 80s and 70s and 80s, it was the comics and cartoons that drove the toy industry. Now it's the toy industry driving the comics and the toys, or the cartoons, because they're supposedly working on a new G.I. Joe cartoon,
Supposedly.
But I mean, look what Mattel's doing to He-Man. I mean, that's good stuff. But
and Rick Jones brings up that Snake Eyes, the movie, came out late because of the pandemic. Dude, you can put those movies, Retaliation, Rise of Cobra, Snake Eyes. You can put all those out to the cows come home, but those movies are not driving sales. Those movies suck. They're not even hitting
nostalgia at all, because that's not Snake Eyes. Sorry,
no,
and level is it Snake Eyes.
And you can call The Rock Roadblock. That's cool, but it's basically The Rock doing the Rock thing with a big gun. He's not up there rhyming and cooking. So
So I'm gonna wind this down. Again, this has been the first live Moocher's Monday. I'm going to do more content. I've got a whole list of things to talk about again. And the next one is going to be the Dark Times. The Dark Times, and like Rick Jones was saying, this is so funny because I was just thinking about this. Bendy's and pewter miniatures were all we had in the Dark Times, and Suncoast
little gold keychains.
If you remember Suncoast, them all, like the little PVC 12-inch things and little lithographs. That's it. I mean, you had nothing. Yeah, Star Wars was a bad word for a lot of us in high school, like prior to that. And I'm going to get into that stuff about what the dark times is and how we explored and got out of it. So that is going to be another thing to explore later.
Can I join you for that one?
Sure.
I lived it, man. I lived it.
I'm going to do a base video, and then I'm going to invite people on to kind of like tell that side of like when they actually fell in love with Star Wars. Because I know the base answer is, well, I love Star Wars since I was born, because that's all. It's not what I'm going for. It's a little bit like, yeah, I understand, but when did you like, and the Dark Times video is going to help that. So I'm looking forward and doing that, in the future too. But Haslab is in a good position now. I think Giant Man. I'm not interested in Marvel Giant Man. I think it's boring. Like someone said, it's a boring character. But I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for success. I'm rooting for every success because I want to see more. I want to see what's coming out, even though if it's not my cup of tea. I think it's important to be constructively critical of their plans and tiers and whatnot. But I don't think it's helping anybody if anybody goes in and just bashes the hell out of every move a company makes. They're a toy company and they're a business first. You got to realize they're not fans and they're a business. There are fans intertwined in there. But when it comes to Star Wars, they think it's a quick buck, and they're learning, very quickly that no one's not going to buy everything with the Star Wars title to it. We're getting a little bit more smarter about that. We're in coming into our late 40s, early 50s. We're getting wise to the choice now. You know what I mean? Not 100%, but we're getting a little bit there. Okay.
I wish I could be a little wiser, but yeah.
Look at my pre-order list. I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? They still got me in a lot of things, but
Jabba's palace is coming.
Yeah, geez. This is fun to explore. We're still, like I said, this is a collector's video for collectors, and see where everybody's attitudes are with the Haslab projects, especially the Star Wars Haslab projects. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on it as more coming. I know that when the Ghost does come in, Scott's going to just give us a slew of videos and background and all that stuff. So cannot wait for that. In fact, not even just that. It's all the Haslabs that we've been backed. The His Tank, the Dragonfly, because you did the Sky Striker. We did the Razor Crest. I mean, everybody likes to see that stuff, even if they don't collect it. So look forward to that. So everybody that's joined me today. Yeah.
Look in our archive too, because the review of the Razor Crest, the review of the Katana, the review of the Sky Striker, it's all in our archive too. So if you want to look up old reviews and just check those out, you can see what you're in store for. 100%. See what you missed out on.
Yeah. No. Hey, Captain Jack, I've got a decent story. I'm glad I can remember all my introduction to Star Wars. I want to hear it. That's my point about the dark times. And going forward with that, I'm going to open it up to a lot of people coming in. And I did this philosophy behind Star Wars and Star Wars collecting and stuff like that. And it just, there is a hive mind to all of this. And there is there is something to it all. It's not just happenstance. It's not just like at random intervals, people just happen to be a Star Wars fan. There's a lot more to it. And I'm glad I want to try to archive it a little bit. So
it's a good idea.
But anyway, Scott, thank you for taking your time on Monday to join me on this live video and having me somebody I can bounce ideas off of and stuff. Thank you to everybody in the pit that was here today talking, toys with us and collecting in the bigger scale. Of course, we'll do a lot more of those toy talk. We don't really get into the toy talk a lot on our main show on Wednesdays. It's just that there's just too much content and too much news and rumors to go over, and we kind of like hit it sporadically. So I want to kind of take the Mondays to bring that a little bit more, in the front lines of the toy collecting world. So everybody who joined us, thank you very much. Join us Wednesdays. Make sure you prepare for Ahsoka, because a big show tomorrow. And then of course, our flagship show on Wednesday, 8 p.m. We're going to be talking the hell out of this next episode that is promising to be epic in a lot of ways. I mean, why choose this episode to be in the theaters simultaneously? I mean, why? So exactly. So excited. I mean, we're less than 24 hours away from experiencing that episode. But anyway, if you haven't, subscribe, tell a friend, make sure that you're paying attention to the Sarlacc Digest, because we are expanding in so many ways. And having some fun with it. We're giving you more details as you keep following us. Yes,
things are afoot, and just thinking about those things, I got goosebumps right now, man.
Things are afoot over here. The Starlight community. Yes.
Yes.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much. This has been another Moochers Monday, and I'm not promising every Monday, but Mondays is where this kind of talk will be. I'm hoping that we have time to do a lot more and less stretched out. Let's put it that way, because Ahsoka's taking up all my time right now. So,
hey, let's go watch it.
I'm absolutely. So again, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Pitt. Until next time, I'm going to kick it off to Scott because he does our favorite tagline.
Keep it nerdy, everybody.
Which outro is it?
I don't know. Is it just a regular one?
I'll just do this one. All right, guys. Later.
Well-oiled machine.
This is Grand Admiral Thrawn. You are listening to the Sarlacc Digest. What a fascinating play on words.